I will open the floor to questions. I don't have any particular questions. I think it was very straightforward and very troubling at the same time. I do have a question. I just wondered what was the political system practice in the main state in light of this alternative governance structure?
As I mentioned earlier, only Matai can sit. But that troubling revelation in terms of only 6% of Matai in traditional villages being women is closely mirrored at the state level, where although women have progressed in terms of education, so political representation is a problem. A special quota, that measure was passed recently, which allowed 10% of seats to be allocated to women in the general election. Okay. So there are 50 seats, which then will be allowed 5. Prior to that, we had between 3 and 2, right? So there is recognition of it, and they are moving towards it. In the discussion in the Parliament on the potential amendment of the Village Phono Act, they're trying to bring up the issue of stating that women should be allowed to sit as Matai. Because there's one big problem. A family may choose to bestow a Matai title on a daughter in their family or woman in their family. But unless the village council recognizes that title bestowal, she cannot go up for parliament because it has not been recognized by her village.
Right. Okay, well, thank you. With that clarification, I open the floor for further questions on this very interesting study, Plural Legal Systems in Samoa, the Impact on Access to Justice for Survivors of Domestic Violence.
What kind of relationship have you noticed between older women who will reinforce the very strict patriarchal norms and ideas and attitudes in the different villages that you have been in, and younger women? Have there been any differences in attitude, or, for example, particularly in terms of reporting any kind of domestic violence, but in terms of attitudes towards conflict resolution?
There is
Yes.
There is a quote that was pulled from the 2015 State of Human Rights report, where women had found that the FAR Samoa basically permitted violence. But as for your question in terms of the differences in age, we did a survey of 400 young people.
Wow, that's a lot.
At the university, young males and females. And we also did focus groups with them. So this was for a different piece of research in terms of their attitudes. And some things that stood out were inability to deal with conflict. This was one of the big reasons, is that in Samoan culture, showing emotion and having outbursts is not really accepted. So it's difficult to then deal with conflict. Having relationship issues, and also the age changes that we found in terms of the level of acceptance. Because when you're in boyfriend-girlfriend situations, which have to be hidden because premarital sex is still considered a no-no, it's an interesting discussion to have. The acceptance goes up when women get married, when they reach to the age at which they get married, because they see that as a normal part of the relationship. So it changes. So that even if we see the young women saying that they don't agree with it as much, they do say that there are reasons when it might be acceptable. Like if a brother is protecting the family honor because his sister is doing something that's not acceptable, and then when she becomes married, then her husband should have some role in ensuring that she keeps in line.
That's almost kind of interesting to look at like how culture intersects with gender, right? So you said how if she went to live with the husband's family, it was kind of looked down upon, you said?
Okay, in Samoan, well, in the culture, your rank is highly associated with staying in the village of your birth.
Right.
So when a woman gets married and she moves into, let's say, her husband's village, she's now termed Nofotane. And her rank is now lower than the women who live in that village. The same thing would happen to a male, but remember, he is also in some way protected because it's of that patriarchal viewpoint that he still remains head. So the Samoa Victim Support Group, which is an NGO that does provide support for women who have been abused in Samoa, found that the Nofotane or the daughter-in-law are very vulnerable to violence.
Yeah, that was my follow-up question, because I thought to myself, this woman who, she's the outsider. Do women marry within their own village, or is that taboo?
It's not highly encouraged, but now there is now a move that you're seeing more of it, but it's not so encouraged.
I suppose incest would be an issue.
We do have, there are issues of incest in Samoa. They're coming out.
No, I mean in terms of who you choose to marry, because people might be related.
In Samoa, families, because they're quite connected, have a book, a big book, a big book. And if you bring home somebody that you're interested in, they're gonna look for that person in that big book, because you have to make sure that you're not related to that person. So you're gonna flip and.
So exogamy is the rule, right? Marrying out tends to be
Marrying out of your family.
Yeah.
So once they establish that, that's your cousin, they'll be like, sorry, can't marry that person. Try again.
Because you see, in olden times when there used to be a lot more autonomy, because remember the central government basically had come about because of colonization and the relationship between the United States and Germany and New Zealand. You would have parties that would leave your village.
Right.
You're going to go on, you're seeking a mate in another community, another village.
Let's start with Rebecca and then Angelica. And let's take all three and then you could answer them. Is that okay?
Okay.
Right.
I was interested, you said that there were 5 reasons presented to persons surveyed in terms of what were acceptable reasons for the abuse of women by their husbands. I was interested, you said most of them found that at least one of those reasons was acceptable. Do you remember the 5 reasons? Do you have them?
I do. I can't remember the 5 off the top of my head, but I could find a report.
Alright, well while she looks for the 5 reasons, everybody remember, 5 reasons that make domestic violence acceptable.
Yeah.
Let's hear Angelique's question.
I was just wondering if you thought that the arrangements that the tribal councils have sound a lot like restorative justice and the restorative justice model for dealing with conflict in communities, and it's becoming an increasing, obviously it's an ancient and indigenous way of being and thinking about relationships in communities, but it's sort of been emerging, I think, recently as a way as an alternative to incarceration and as perhaps a better way to deal with violence. And I just wondered if you thought about that, if that term or that model has come up at all, or even thinking about what they do as a form of restorative justice, I think might be interesting.
Okay.
Got all 3?
No, I'm going to stop here because there are 2 big questions and then we'll take these 2 ladies.
Okay, so then...
5 and then restorative justice.
Okay, so I can start with restorative justice.
Yes.
Now, to some degree, yes, and to some degree, no. Because the ifunga, or traditional apology, usually takes place between families. So in some cases, the person who has committed the offense may not be there, but it's the family apologizing. And in that case, the person who has been harmed may not feel like they have been recognized. So in that case, no. And also, when the punishment is imposed, it's not always imposed, let's say, on Raquel. It's on Raquel's family. So Raquel's family has to foot everything. And when that, if it's money, if it's animal, if it's food, and that has been given to the next family, all of that doesn't go to the person who has been wronged. It's then divided.
And what happens to the perpetrator?
So if it has gone to the police, it's gone to the courts, it's then up to the sitting magistrate or judge to what extent they will consider that apology or that punishment in terms of sentencing. It's then up to them. So in some cases, I think it could. In other cases, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, these are the 5. Has not prepared the food, argues with him, goes out without telling him, neglects the children, refuses to have sexual intercourse. Okay.
Excuse me.
Traditional gender roles.
Yeah.
Wow.
Servicing.
Cultural,
Right?
Did not cook,
Yeah.
no sex, goes out alone, neglects the kids, and
Doesn't-
quarrels.
Yeah.
So her autonomy, her
Yeah.
duties as a wife.
Wow.
Access to your
Okay.
body.
Yeah.
Very specific.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this just blew my mind. Okay.
No, actually, could I? This is,
Yeah.
I found, this is the chart that we prepared. This is based on the 2009. This is based on the age groups,
Wow.
right? So now, remember when we said in terms of acceptable reasons? Remember we said as women grow older and they move and they change that role from single to being a wife, their level of acceptability seems to also climb.
Motherhood neglects the children. It's,
Burns the food.
uh-huh.
Like you can't tell it to burn food.
I'm sorry, these are women who say those are acceptable reasons?
Yeah.
Or,
Acceptable. Now what they found is that there was a
According to
decreasing level of acceptance from
Yeah.
2009 to 2014.
Yes, struggling, yes.
So it's, it's quite good if we're seeing some change. And as more young women and young men become more educated and their minds are changing.
But 30 to 34 is higher.
Yeah, it is
30 to
very high.
34 and 35
All
to
of that.
39.
Yeah.
Because
It's high.
the median age for marriage in Samoa is 24.
Right.
24?
Yeah, 24 years.
So by those people between 30 to in their 30s, they're married, they're right in the middle of marriage, and they do think that neglecting the children and going out without telling him definitely deserves punishment. I like that they do preserve bodily autonomy. Notice it's low.
In 2000, I forget in the year the shadow report was done with Samoa's NGOs, they flagged bingo as a potential reason why they couldn't see in bingo,
Bingo.
church bingo in communities as a reason why women weren't home at the end of the day to cook and feed the children.
She
and all
went
that.
to
Church
bingo.
involvement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, your question? Oh no, go ahead,
I just wanted to ask about the no drop policy. I found that interesting because back where I come from in Guyana, there is a similar policy, but we still find that officers still, they say, all right, well, you'll still solve it, even though there are repercussions for them and it impacts access to justice for victims. So do you find a lot of cases, even in the low, concentration of reported cases, are there still officers that, despite this policy, that they're still going to say, well, small thing, go off and do it?
I can't say yes or no because gathering information that we had was quite challenging as it is, and this is still a relatively new piece of legislation. It's still relatively new because this came into being in 2013. So in terms of the monitoring systems they might have put in place, we're not sure how well they might be working, so I can't speak to that.
Okay.
But what we did find, and this was, we found this out after this paper had been done, is that the General Policing Unit, which handles other matters that are not domestic violence related, but still in that basic level of severity up to the 5 years, that in communities we have cases involving domestic violence, involving family disputes that did not end up in court. Because remember, they warned them. They didn't make a formal report. Now, in that survey with the students at the university, we found that there were some who wouldn't report either to the police or the village council. And these were young people.
Right.
And as for that, in terms of the impact, in terms of sentencing, we do have a few cases that were pulled from the Pacific Legal Database. Oh my gosh.
Those reasons for men hitting their wives, that was a closed response for women, right?
And men.
And men. Oh, okay. So those were male and female responses that we looked at?
No, those are female.
What about the men? What were the most popular reasons they felt that were justified reasons for beating their wives? Do you recall?
I could honestly say not right now. I have to look for it.
Okay, no problem.
But what we found is that from the Samoa Demographic Health Survey, they had given different options than from the study done by the Secretariat for the Pacific Community. So that when they thought attitudes had improved, they needed to look further and break down the acceptances for the different options because they didn't match.
Right.
So this is an example of this case. Let me see. Let me just pick one. In this case, what is this case related to? Two defendants. First defender, uncle of the complainant. Ongoing offense. So the maximum sentence for rape is life imprisonment. Now, when they considered the banding system in terms of where they started, the starting point they gave was 19 years. The guilty plea reduced the sentence for the previous good record. Now, the statements of good character from your village council, your village representative, the Matai of your family, the pastor, all do carry weight. So this resulted in a reduction of 1 year. A fauna and reconciliation. 3 months. Please note the victim's father tried unsuccessfully to have the matter withdrawn at the court. Right?
Oh, the victim's father?
Yeah.
Okay. Why, when you're an uncle who rapes your...
So in this
your
case,
niece,
where it did involve...
Question, and then if anybody has no more questions, we can wrap up. You said a lot of the offenders are Matai, which is obviously the powerful.
No, about 35%. That was at
Wow.
that was in 2000.
In 2000.
And we
So
have to
16 years later.
keep in mind that things have changed. We're not sure to what
Because
degree
it's
things have
changing.
changed now.
Because I'm saying it is as if himself, attending to himself, there's a calypso, himself told himself, you are charged with speeding. Himself started to shout, the policeman lying, because it's as if you're the judge and jury and every executioner for your own case. So imagine you're the Matai, you get a statement of good character, you say you're guilty, whatever, and then you just walk out of the courthouse or whatever it is. It's just quite worrying. Any more questions? Rachel, you have any? Thank you so much for your time. This is very revealing. It's also quite disturbing.
Could I just make one
Yes,
closing statement?
definitely.
Now, I firmly believe that change is taking place.
Good.
And it may not be happening at the speed at which persons might envision, but it is happening. And we held focus group sessions at the university, and although we had small participation from young males, these young males were very fervent supporters that women should not be beaten in any case, and very strong supporters that communication was really important. So that in time things will improve. I really do.
Optimistic view.
Hope springs eternal. That's the only way we must live.
Yes.
So thank you again for the opportunity.
Thank you so much. And I hope you continue and pursue it further. It will be nice to know what happens after all this time.
Well, hopefully when we write the book, we can go and see what's
Definitely.